Right now, alarms are quietly sounding inside control rooms deep within Hoover Dam, but outside, most people have no idea how close this system is to breaking. Lake Mead is dropping, inch by inch, toward a number that engineers have feared for decades, 895 feet. That number is not just a statistic, it's a line, a point of no return. And tonight, that line is closer than ever. Helicopter footage shows it clearly, the white bathtub ring carved into the canyon walls, stretching hundreds of feet above the shrinking waterline. It's not just a mark of drought anymore, it's a countdown. At 895 feet, the reservoir hits what's known as dead pool. That's when water can no longer flow through the dam's intake valves, the turbines. Massive machines that have powered millions of homes for generations simply stop. No flow, no spin, no electricity. Inside the dam, engineers are watching real-time data streams, refreshing every few seconds. The numbers are moving in the wrong direction, faster than expected, faster than predicted. This wasn't supposed to happen this soon. Emergency teams are already repositioning equipment. Backup plans once considered extreme are being activated quietly. Water managers are coordinating across multiple states, trying to stretch what little remains. But there's a problem. There's no quick fix for disappearing water. Satellite data shows the reservoir has lost staggering volumes over the past few years. Entire sections of lake bed, once buried under deep water, are now exposed, cracked, and dry. What used to be a buffer is gone. It's now every drop matters. Officials are avoiding public panic, but internally, the language has shifted. This is no longer about conservation. It's about survival. The level continues to fall, and all indicators say it will if the system doesn't just weaken. It stops. And when it stops, the consequences won't stay contained within the canyon walls. They will ripple outward, across cities, across states, affecting millions who rely on this one structure to keep the lights on and the water flowing. Right now, that line 895 feet is no longer theoretical. It's approaching. Right now, behind reinforced doors and layers of security, emergency meetings are unfolding at a pace no one is prepared for. Inside Hoover Dam's control center, the atmosphere has shifted from routine monitoring to crisis management. Screens flicker with live elevation data, turbine output levels, and projections that are changing by the hour. Engineers aren't speaking in hypotheticals anymore. They're speaking in deadlines, and those deadlines are collapsing. Senior operators are running simulations repeatedly. It's one ending the same way. If Lake Mead drops just a few more feet, power generation begins to fail in stages. Not all at once, not dramatically, but quietly. And then all at once. Partial shutdowns, reduced output, and complete silence from turbines that have never stopped spinning in decades. Outside the dam, federal agencies are activating contingency plans. Energy coordinators across the Southwest are on emergency calls, trying to reroute electricity from already strained grids. Backup power sources are being assessed, but there's a brutal reality setting in. There is no replacement for Hoover Dam at this scale. This single structure supports energy flow to millions across multiple states. And now, those states are preparing for what happens when that supply starts to disappear. In Las Vegas, Phoenix, and parts of Southern California, power managers are issuing quiet internal warnings. Grid operators are calculating how long they can maintain stability if Hoover's output drops below critical thresholds. The answer is not reassuring. Rolling blackouts are no longer a distant possibility. They're part of active planning scenarios. Water authorities are also stepping in, because this isn't just about electricity. The same falling levels threatening the turbines are also putting water intake systems at risk. If levels fall too far, even pumping water becomes a challenge. Two lifelines, power and water, both tied to the same shrinking source, and time is running out for both. Back inside the dam, engineers are moving through backup procedures that were once considered worst-case scenarios, adjusting intake angles, monitoring pressure shifts, pushing the system to operate under conditions it was never designed for. Every adjustment buys time, but not much. What makes this moment different is the speed. The decline is accelerating, and projections are being revised in real time. What was once a years-long buffer has collapsed into a matter of months, possibly weeks. Officials are not saying it publicly yet. But inside these rooms, One conclusion is becoming unavoidable. The system is no longer stable. It's being held together, moment by moment. This didn't start today. What's unfolding right now at Hoover Dam is the result of a slow collapse, one that's been building for years, hidden behind reports, projections, and quiet reassurances. The warning signs were always there. Year after year, Lake Mead kept falling, not dramatically at first, just enough to be noticed, then dismissed. Seasonal drops were blamed. Temporary droughts, natural cycles. But the lake never recovered. Each summer, the waterline returned lower than before. Each winter, the refill came weaker, the margins shrank, the buffer disappeared, and the bathtub ring kept growing. From the air, it became impossible to ignore a massive white scar wrapping around the canyon, marking how much water had been lost. Not inches, not feet, hundreds of feet. Still, officials spoke carefully. Words like manageable and under control dominated public briefings. Plans were drafted, agreements signed between states. Water usage was adjusted slightly, but behind closed doors, the numbers told a different story. Consumption was outpacing supply, year after year. The Colorado River, once a powerful, reliable source, was delivering less water than expected. Snowpack levels dropped, heat intensified, evaporation increased. The system was bleeding from multiple points at once, and then came the projections. Models began showing a future that no one wanted to say out loud, a path toward dead pool, not centuries away, not even decades. Within a single generation, engineers started raising alarms. Internal memos circulated, outlining worst-case scenarios. Emergency modifications were proposed to keep water flowing even at lower levels. Some of those modifications were approved, but not fast enough, because the decline didn't slow down, it accelerated. In recent years, the drop became undeniable. Entire marinas were left stranded on dry land. Boats sat abandoned where water used to be. Intake pipes, once deep underwater, crept closer and closer to the surface. And still, the system kept running, because it had to. Cities kept growing, demand kept rising. Millions of people continued, depending on a resource that was quietly disappearing. Now, the consequences of that delay are catching up all at once. The margin for error is gone. Every foot lost now is critical. Every inch pushes the system closer to failure. The number 895 feet is no longer buried in reports or projections. It's directly ahead. What makes this moment so dangerous isn't just the falling water. It's the realization that this outcome was seen, predicted, and still, somehow not stopped. And now, there's no time left to debate it, only time to face it. The clock is no longer abstract. It's flashing on screens inside Hoover Dam. Every second counts, and every second brings the turbines closer to silence. Engineers watch in tense focus as water levels approach the 895-foot mark. Turbines, the massive heart of the dam, are straining under conditions they were never built for. Each moment the lake drops, the pressure changes, the flow slows, and the risk of shutdown spikes. This isn't a gentle decline, it's accelerating. Projections that once spanned months have shrunk into weeks. Now days, now hours. Officials are no longer asking what if, they're asking when. Emergency measures are being executed at full speed. Intake gates are being adjusted to squeeze every drop of water through aging channels. Secondary systems once considered backups are activated, humming under untested loads. Engineers move between consoles like surgeons, eyes darting, fingers racing. One mistake, one misread number, could trigger cascading failures. Across the Southwest, the first signals are showing up on the grid. Automated systems detect sudden drops in power flow. Alerts buzz through energy control rooms. Substation overloads, voltage instability, turbines operating below capacity. Operators begin preemptively redistributing electricity. But it's like patching cracks in a dam with tape. The system is fraying. Public still hasn't been told the full scale of the danger. Rolling blackouts are quietly being prepared. Cities like Las Vegas and Phoenix are now on standby, anticipating reduced power output. Hospitals, water treatment plants, and emergency services brace for the worst. Meanwhile, the water itself is moving against the dam's designs. Intake pipes are exposed, reducing the volume of water feeding the turbines. Pumps strain, vibration, alarms scream, and engineers push the machinery to the edge of its limits. Each turn of a turbine is a fight to keep millions of homes lit. The countdown is no longer hypothetical. Every foot the lake falls brings the turbines closer to stalling. Engineers calculate moments, not hours. And when the first turbine fails, it will ripple through the system, blackouts cascading, pressure dropping, the delicate balance of power and water hanging by a thread. Officials are coordinating at every level: federal agencies, state energy managers, water authorities. Emergency protocols are being rewritten in real time. Every decision now is a gamble, every choice a risk of triggering total failure. The question is no longer if Hoover Dam will reach dead pool. It's how fast it will happen, and how many millions will feel the consequences before anyone can react. Across the Southwest, the first signs of impact are beginning to ripple outward. Streetlights flicker in Las Vegas. Hospitals switch to emergency generators. Traffic signals fail one by one, sending intersections into chaos. The power grids are straining to compensate, but Hoover Dam's faltering turbines are a linchpin that no backup can fully replace. In Phoenix, families notice the sudden heat. Air conditioners shut down mid-cycle as blackout alerts hit local grids. The desert sun beats down mercilessly, and the urban population begins to feel the first whispers of panic. Social media explodes with confusion, speculation, and fear. People are asking the same question: how long will this last? Water, too, is becoming scarce. Intake pipes that supply reservoirs are struggling as levels at Lake Mead drop further. Some municipalities begin issuing boil water warnings, knowing that pressure in the system is weakening. Fire departments check hydrants that no longer deliver the reliable flow they've counted on for decades. In rural areas, farmers watch irrigation systems falter, crops drying under an unforgiving sun. Power outages cascade unpredictably. Hospitals move patients onto backup systems that can only sustain limited functions. Schools cancel classes, businesses shutter abruptly, traffic snarls as signals fail, emergency services scramble to respond. But communication lines begin to falter under unprecedented loads. In homes and neighborhoods, fear grows. Families gather around flashlights, radios, and battery-powered devices. Realizing how dependent their lives have been on a single structure hundreds of miles away, panic is slow at first, neighbors helping neighbors, but it escalates as hours pass and no relief comes. Local officials issue statements, urging calm, but the messages feel hollow. Citizens see the reality on their streets. Grocery store shelves are quickly emptied. Gas stations struggle as pumps lose power. Every aspect of daily life begins to feel precarious. A fragile web stretched thin by the failure of Hoover Dam's turbines. Emergency shelters open, but they're quickly overwhelmed. The number 25 million, previously abstract, is now tangible. It represents homes without electricity, water, and the basic infrastructure society takes for granted. Engineers at the dam work tirelessly, knowing each foot the lake falls translates directly into more chaos downstream. Yet even their efforts can only delay the inevitable. Across the region, people are learning a stark truth. When the lifeline that powers cities and irrigates fields begins to fail, survival becomes immediate, personal, and terrifying. The strain is no longer hidden. Infrastructure across the Southwest is teetering on the edge, pushed to its absolute limits by Hoover Dam's failing output. Electric grids are faltering. Substations flash warning lights as overloads spike. Automated systems attempt to redistribute power, but circuits trip faster than they can compensate. Blackouts leap from neighborhoods to entire districts, leaving millions in darkness. Hospitals run entirely on backup generators, each second a gamble as fuel supplies dwindle. Water systems are collapsing in tandem. Pump stations falter as pressure drops. Reservoirs dip to critical levels. Firefighters attempt routine calls but discover hydrants delivering only trickles. Cities built for millions are suddenly confronted with scarcity at every turn. Drinking water, sanitation, fire suppression, all imperiled simultaneously. Communication networks begin to strain. Cell towers lose power and fail. Emergency lines light up with calls that can't be answered fast enough. Newsrooms scramble to report as reporters contend with outages and roadblocks. Social media is flooded with panic, images of darkened streets, and desperate cries for help. Transportation systems crumble under the pressure. Traffic signals die, leaving chaotic intersections. Rail and public transit experience delays and shutdowns as control systems falter. Fuel stations struggle as pumps fail without electricity. Supply chains are interrupted. Essential goods are delayed or halted entirely. Even the engineers inside Hoover Dam are facing the limits of human endurance. Turbines operate beyond recommended thresholds. Intake valves are forced open at dangerous angles. Vibration alarms ring constantly, and the mechanical stress is palpable. Every adjustment is a tense balance push too hard, and the machinery fails. Too little, and the dead pool is reached. Authorities are calling in reinforcements from federal agencies, private contractors, and utility specialists. But every effort feels like bailing out a sinking ship. The interdependence of power, water, and transportation systems means failure, and one quickly spreads to the others. The message is clear. The crisis has moved beyond planning. The systems that millions depend on every day are collapsing, one domino at a time, and the dead pool is only a few feet away. Even as Hoover Dam teeters on the edge, the focus shifts beyond immediate outages. Engineers and officials know one harsh truth: this is not the end. The dead pool is imminent, and the ripple effects will reach far beyond blacked-out cities. Across the Southwest, experts warn of secondary disasters forming silently. Reservoirs feeding the region are under extreme stress. Groundwater levels are dropping, leaving farms, communities, and ecosystems exposed. Once reliable rivers now threaten to dry entirely, creating tinderboxes for wildfires under an unrelenting sun. Energy analysts calculate the next phase. Rolling blackouts won't just flicker across homes. Entire industrial sectors will grind to a halt: refineries, manufacturing plants, and water treatment facilities. Hospitals may survive the first wave, but if fuel runs out, critical care units could face life-or-death scenarios in hours. Meanwhile, emergency services are stretched beyond limits. Firefighters respond to blazes with weakened water pressure. Police struggle to manage crowds navigating darkened streets. Communication networks falter under surging demand, leaving coordination fragmented. It's a perfect storm forming quietly, its components invisible to the public until the consequences arrive. And yet, the future may hold something even darker. Scientists and engineers fear structural stress within the dam itself. The drop to dead pool isn't just a number. It changes the way water flows, how weight distributes, and how the canyon walls interact with the massive concrete structure. Small cracks, previously harmless, could widen. Vibrations from turbines operating under stress might exacerbate weaknesses. In the worst-case scenario, partial structural failure could amplify damage far beyond outages. State and federal authorities are issuing contingency plans, but nothing can fully prepare for cascading effects of this scale. The lessons from the past decades, the ignored warnings, the delayed interventions now collide in real time. Hoover Dam is no longer a symbol of stability. 'Tis a warning. Across homes, offices, and hospitals, millions feel the consequences of a system stretched to its limit. And as the final inches of water disappear toward 895 feet, the question remains: what comes next? Because once the dead pool is reached, the Southwest and, potentially beyond, faces a future that is not just uncertain, but potentially catastrophic. The lights are going out, the water is vanishing, and the worst may only be beginning.